Single mother sold cakes on the street to treat her daughter, until a doctor passed by and changed everything. Rachel Thompson wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand while arranging the last cakes on the tray. The midday sun beat down on the busy corner of Ocean Drive in downtown San Diego, but she couldn't stop. Every cake sold meant another day of hope for her daughter Emily. The 9-year-old girl watched everything from her wheelchair, strategically positioned next to her mother's makeshift stand. Her brown eyes sparkled with intelligence, but Rachel also saw a worry that no child should carry. "Mom, I think the man in the white coat is coming our way again," whispered Emily, discreetly pointing to a man walking through the crowd. Rachel looked up and recognized the figure. It was the third time that week he had passed by, always at the same time, always looking in their direction with an expression she couldn't decipher. The man approached the stand with hesitant steps. He must have been about 40, with dark hair slightly graying at the temples, and carried a brown leather briefcase that looked expensive. "Good afternoon," he said in a soft voice. "Could you sell me a carrot cake?" "Of course," replied Rachel, taking one of the prettiest cakes from the tray. "That's $5. The man handed over a $20 bill, and when Rachel went to get the change, he gestured with his hand. "You can keep the change." "No, sir, I can't accept that," insisted Rachel, holding out the coins. "Honest work doesn't take handouts." But when she looked up, the man had already disappeared into the crowd, leaving only the faint scent of his soap and a strange feeling in the air. "He seemed sad, Mom," commented Emily, adjusting her wheelchair to get a better position. His eyes were wet. Rachel put the extra money in a metal box she kept hidden under the table. $15 extra meant medication for 2 more days. Even so, something about that encounter bothered her. The next day, promptly at 2 in the afternoon, the man in the white coat appeared again. This time, Rachel paid more attention. He wore an impeccable white coat, well-maintained dress shoes, and carried the same leather briefcase. There was something doctor-like about him, in his upright posture, and the careful way he observed Emily. "Good morning," he greeted with a shy smile. "Could I have the carrot cake again? It was delicious." "Thank you," said Rachel, wrapping the cake carefully. "My grandmother's recipe." "Your daughter?" He hesitated, looking at Emily. "Does she always stay here with you?" Emily spoke before her mother. "I help Mommy sell the cakes. I'm good with numbers and know how to give the right change." "How smart," said the man, crouching down to be at the girl's eye level. "What's your name?" "Emily Thompson Parker. And you?" The man hesitated for a moment. "Dr. Michael Wilson." Rachel noticed the strange pause but said nothing. The doctor paid for the cakes again with extra money and again tried to leave without the change. This time, Rachel was quicker. "Dr. Michael," she called, running after him. "Your change." He stopped and turned slowly. Up close, Rachel could see that his brown eyes held a deep sadness, as if carrying an invisible weight. "Keep it for your daughter's treatment," he said quietly. "How do you know she's getting treatment?" asked Rachel, suspicious. "I notice these things. I'm a doctor. From which hospital?" Michael looked away. "From Mercy General Hospital in the central area." Rachel knew the hospital. It was one of the most expensive in the city, where only those with private health insurance or a lot of money could get care. What would a doctor from there be doing buying cake from a street stand? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. That night, after counting and recounting the money they had collected, Rachel sat on the edge of the single bed she shared with Emily in the small room they rented in Hopewell Heights. 540 rays, almost enough to pay the month's rent, but they were still 200 rays short for Emily's physical therapy appointment. "Mom," said Emily, moving her arms with difficulty to adjust in bed. "Do you think Dr. Michael will come back tomorrow?" "I don't know, honey. Why?" "He reminds me of Dad. His eyes are similar." Rachel felt a tightness in her chest. Emily barely remembered her father, who had abandoned them when he found out about his daughter's disability. The girl had been born premature, with complications that affected her mobility from the waist down. What she took as a resemblance to her father might just be the longing for a present male figure. Let's sleep, sweetheart. Tomorrow will be a better day. But the next morning, when they arrived at their sales spot, they found Mrs. Henderson, the gossipy neighbor, waiting for them with a look that said she had news. "Rachel, my dear, you need to be careful with this man who's been hanging around here," said the woman in her mid-60s, adjusting her floral apron. "A man who doesn't want change and stares at children like that doesn't have good intentions. He's a doctor, Mrs. Henderson, and he's been kind to us. A rich doctor buying cakes from a street stall. He looks like he wants something. You're too naive, girl. This world is full of wolves in sheep's clothing." The neighbor's words planted a seed of doubt in Rachel's heart. When Dr. Michael showed up that afternoon, she watched him more closely. He did seem nervous, looking around as if he were being watched, and his hands trembled slightly when he paid for the cakes. "Doctor," Rachel said, deciding to get to the bottom of it, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course. Why do you come here every day? Our cakes are good, but I imagine a doctor from Mercy General Hospital has other options." Michael was silent for a long moment, fidgeting with his leather briefcase. Emily was watching him too, with that sharp perception children have. "It's complicated," he said finally. "Your daughter? Her condition? It's something that touches me personally." "Do you have children with the same problem?" "I had." His voice came out softer. "I had a daughter." The silence that followed was heavy. Rachel understood she had touched an open wound, and Emily, young as she was, sensed the sadness in the air. "I'm sorry," Rachel said. "That's why I come here," Michael continued, as if the words had opened a floodgate. "Your daughter reminds me of her, the intelligence, the way she deals with limitations, the strength. It's very similar." "Would you like to sit for a bit?" Rachel offered, pointing to a makeshift bench beside the stall. Michael hesitated, looked around again, but accepted. Emily immediately turned her wheelchair to face him. "What was your daughter like?" the girl asked, with the innocent curiosity of her age. "Olivia," said Michael, and a melancholy smile appeared on his face. "She was 8 when she left us. She was smart, like you, asked tough questions, never let difficulties get her down." "Did she use a wheelchair too?" "She did. She was born with a condition similar to yours." Rachel felt there was much more behind that story, but didn't want to press. Michael seemed to be wrestling with inner demons, and she recognized that struggle. She herself fought daily battles against despair and the feeling of helplessness. "Dr. Michael," said Emily, with the seriousness of an adult, "can you help my mum with my treatment?" "Emily," Rachel scolded, embarrassed. "It's okay," said Michael, looking into the girl's eyes. "What kind of treatment do you have?" "Physical therapy twice a week, but we haven't been able to pay for all the sessions," explained Emily, ignoring her mother's warning looks. "Mom works really hard, but it's still not enough." Michael opened his briefcase and took out some papers. Rachel saw they were medical forms and prescriptions. "Where do you get the treatment?" "At New Hope Clinic, over on Arlington Street," replied Rachel, resigned. Since Emily had started, it was better to tell the whole truth. "Dr. Kevin is the one overseeing her." "I know Kevin. He's a good professional." "Could you take a look at Emily?" asked Rachel, surprised by her own courage, "just to get a second opinion." Michael immediately grew tense. I don't see patients anymore. Why? It's complicated. Issues with the hospital." Emily and Rachel exchanged glances. There was something strange about the doctor's answer, an evasion that only heightened both their curiosity. "But you still work there, right?" insisted Emily. "Yes, not exactly." Michael stood up abruptly, putting the papers back in his briefcase. "I need to go. See you tomorrow." And he hurried out, leaving mother and daughter puzzled. Rachel began to wonder if Mrs. Henderson wasn't right. What kind of doctor behaved so strangely? That night, while preparing the cake batter for the next day, Rachel couldn't get Michael out of her head. There was something about him that stirred her compassion, but also her suspicion. The way he spoke about her daughter seemed sincere, but why couldn't he see patients? And why did he come every day to buy cakes? "Mom," Emily called from the bed. "Do you think Dr. Michael is lying to us?" I don't know, honey. What do you think? I think he's hiding something, but I don't think it's something bad. He seems really sad, like you were when Dad left. The comparison struck Rachel deeply. Emily was right. There was a sadness in Michael's eyes that she recognized because it resembled her own pain. The next day, Michael didn't show up. Rachel and Emily spent the whole afternoon waiting, but he never came. For the first time in a week, they went home with the money counted, without the extra tip that had become a silent hope. "I think we scared him," said Emily, downcast. "Maybe he noticed we were asking too many questions." But the next morning, when they arrived at the sales spot, they found an envelope under the cake box. Inside was a note. "I apologize for yesterday. I had an urgent commitment. I'd like to talk to you about something important. Can you meet me at Central Bakery on Palm Avenue today at 5 in the afternoon? Michael." Rachel read the note several times. Part of her wanted to go, but another part whispered Mrs. Henderson's warnings. "Are we going, Mom?" asked Emily, excited. "I don't know if it's a good idea." "At least we can find out what he wants. If it's something bad, we'll just leave." At 5 in the afternoon, Rachel pushed Emily's wheelchair through the streets of downtown San Diego until they reached Central Bakery. It was an old establishment, with wooden tables and walls decorated with vintage photos of the city. Michael was sitting at a table in the back, nervously stirring a cup of coffee. When he saw them, he stood up and waved. He seemed even more nervous than usual. "Thank you for coming," he said, helping Rachel position Emily's wheelchair at the table. "What did you want to talk about?" asked Rachel, getting straight to the point. Michael took a deep breath and opened his briefcase. He took out a photo and placed it on the table. It was a picture of a blonde girl with light eyes, in a wheelchair similar to Emily's. "This is Olivia," he said, his voice choked. "My daughter." Emily took the photo and studied it carefully. She was very beautiful. And she seems happy too. "She was the happiest child in the world," Michael confirmed. "Even with all the difficulties, she always found reasons to smile." "What happened to her?" Rachel asked gently. "She needed an experimental surgery to improve her mobility. I was head of the pediatric orthopedics department at Mercy General at the time. I had access to the best equipment, the best specialists." Michael paused, struggling with the words. "But the surgery went wrong?" "We never got to do the surgery. The hospital denied authorization because they considered the procedure too risky and expensive. Even though I was a doctor there, even with premium health insurance, they denied it." "What do you mean?" asked Rachel, indignant. "The hospital is a business, Rachel. They do cost-benefit calculations. An experimental surgery on a child with disabilities wasn't seen as a good investment." Emily was listening to everything attentively, her sharp intelligence catching every nuance of the conversation. "So Carol," Olivia became increasingly debilitated. Without proper treatment, other complications appeared. "She passed away 3 years ago." The silence at the table was absolute. Rachel felt tears burning her eyes, and Emily held the photo tenderly, as if hugging the girl in the picture. "I'm so sorry," whispered Rachel. "After that, I couldn't work normally anymore. Every time I saw a child like Olivia, like Emily, I remembered my daughter and what could have been done to save her." "Is that why you don't see patients anymore?" "I started questioning everything. The hospital protocols, the decisions based only on money, the way we treat patients like numbers on a spreadsheet. I had some disagreements with the administration." Michael took another paper from his folder. It was an official hospital document. "I was temporarily suspended for insubordination. I questioned a board decision about denying treatment to a child in need. The suspension ends next week, but I don't know if I want to go back to that environment." Rachel began to understand Michael's strange behavior. He wasn't a dangerous man. He was a broken man, struggling with his own conscience and with a system that had failed his daughter. "Why did you tell us all this?" once she asked. "Because you gave me something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. Seeing Emily, seeing her strength, the way you fight for her, reminded me why I became a doctor." Emily reached out her small hand and touched Michael's. "You want to help other children like me and like Carol, right?" I do, but I don't know if I can. The system is very complicated, Emily. My mother always says that we can't give up when things get hard, said the girl with the simple wisdom of childhood. Maybe you just need to find a different way to help. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Michael smiled for the first time since they'd met him, a genuine smile that lit up his tired face. You're right, Emily. Maybe I do need to find a different way. And what would that way be? Asked Rachel. I don't know yet, but I know I want to help you. Can I take a look at Emily's medical records? Not as an official doctor, but as a friend? Rachel hesitated. Part of her still distrusted, but looking at the man before her, seeing the sincerity in his eyes and the caring way he treated Emily, she decided to trust. All right. But I want to be present during any examination. Of course, and I want to make it clear that I am not offering miracles, just a second opinion, a conversation about treatment possibilities. They arranged to meet at Dr. Kevin's office the following week. Michael knew the physical therapist and managed to schedule an appointment for an informal consultation. When they left the bakery, Emily was more excited than Rachel had seen her in a long time. Mum, I think Dr. Michael is really going to help us. I hope so, honey, but we can't set our expectations too high. I know, but sometimes we need to believe that things can get better, right? Her daughter's wisdom always surprised Rachel. At 9 years old, Emily had a maturity that came from having to deal with her condition from a very young age, but she still maintained the hope and joy typical of childhood. The following week, the appointment with Dr. Kevin was revealing. Michael examined Emily carefully and talked at length with the physical therapist about the girl's history. The treatment you're doing is correct, said Michael, but there are some more advanced techniques that could speed up progress. What kind of techniques? Asked Rachel. Robotic physical therapy, functional electrical stimulation, specialized hydrotherapy. They're expensive treatments, but very effective for cases like Emily's. How expensive? Asked Rachel, though she feared the answer. The equipment costs about 20,000 Rs. The complete treatment would take about 6 months. Rachel felt the world spin. 20,000 Rs. That was the equivalent of 2 years of selling cakes, not counting basic housing and food expenses. I don't have that kind of money, she said, discouraged. I know, that's why I want to propose something. Michael approached Emily. Emily, would you agree to be my first patient in a special project? What kind of project? Asked the girl, curious. I want to open a community clinic, a place where children like you can receive the best treatment, regardless of their family's financial situation. Rachel didn't understand. How would that be possible? I have some savings. It's not much, but it's enough to get started. And I know other professionals who think like I do, who are tired of seeing medicine treated only as a business. But that wouldn't be sustainable, argued Rachel. How would you pay the bills? We'd have paying patients too. We'd see those who can pay during the day and set aside sometimes for free care. Besides, we'd seek partnerships with local businesses, organize charity events. The idea was ambitious, but Michael spoke with a passion that was contagious. Emily was excited, and even Rachel began to believe it could work. Where would this clinic be? She asked. I'm negotiating a space in Hopewell Heights, very close to where you live. An old building that needs renovation but has potential. And when would it start? If all goes well, in 2 months. They spent the rest of the appointment discussing details of the project. Michael had everything planned: what equipment would be needed, which professionals he would try to recruit, how the operational structure would work. When they left the office, Rachel was torn between hope and the fear of disappointment. Do you think it can work, Mum? Asked Emily. I don't know, honey, but Dr. Michael seems very determined. He remembered Olivia when he talked about the project. I think he wants to do for her what he couldn't do when she was alive. Once again, Emily's perception impressed Rachel. The girl was right. Michael was trying to heal his own pain by helping other children. In the weeks that followed, Michael continued to appear at the cake stand, but now the conversations were different. He was talking about the project's progress, The obstacles he was facing, the small daily victories. I managed to convince Dr. Sarah to join the project, he shared one afternoon. She's a specialist in pediatric neurology and was also unhappy with the traditional hospital system. How many doctors will you have? Asked Emily. For now, 3. Me, Sarah, and Dr. Robert, who is a physical therapist like Kevin, but specializes in more advanced techniques. And the location? That's the tricky part. Michael hesitated. The building owner raised the rent at the last minute. He said he heard about our project and wants to charge as if it were a high-end clinic. Rachel saw the disappointment in his eyes. Much more expensive. 3 times the amount we had negotiated. I'm looking for other options, but it's not easy to find a suitable space at an affordable price. What if you started smaller? Suggested Emily. Like in a regular house first, just to see if it works. Michael smiled. I've thought about that, but the regulations for a medical practice are complicated. It needs specific infrastructure, accessibility, safety equipment. The neighborhood church has a large hall they use for events, Rachel recalled. Father Richard is very kind. Maybe he'd let you use it a few hours a week. It would be temporary, but it could work, Michael reflected. At least to start seeing patients while we look for a permanent location. Rachel's suggestion ended up being the solution to the impasse. Father Richard not only lent the church hall, but got excited about the project and offered to help spread the word in the community. It's exactly the kind of initiative our parish supports, said the priest, a 50-year-old man with the energy of a youth. Caring for our most needy brothers and sisters is a Christian mission. Within a month, the makeshift clinic was up and running. Michael, Sarah, and Robert saw patients in the church hall 3 times a week, and the community response was immediate. Families who had lived with unsolved health issues for years finally had access to specialized treatment. Emily was one of the first patients, and her progress was notable from the first sessions. With more modern equipment and advanced techniques, she began to regain strength in her arms and develop better motor coordination. "Look, Mom," she exclaimed one afternoon, managing to pick up a toy from the floor without help. "I did it by myself," Rachel cried with emotion. It was a simple movement, something any child would do without thinking, but for Emily, it represented a huge achievement. "Congratulations, champ," said Michael, who was observing the session. "With this progress, in a few months, you'll be doing many more things on your own." "How long until I can walk?" asked Emily, with the direct curiosity of children. Michael and Rachel exchanged glances. It was a difficult question, involving complex medical realities and expectations. "Emily," said Michael, crouching down to her level, "your condition is specific. You might never walk like other children, but that doesn't mean you can't have a full and happy life." "I know," the girl replied, unfazed. "The wheelchair is part of me, like glasses are part of Nathan from school. The important thing is that I can do more and more things." Emily's maturity impressed all the professionals working with her. She didn't see her disability as a limitation, but as a characteristic that required creative adaptations. "My mum always says that what matters isn't what we can't do, but what we can do better each day," she continued. Michael looked at Rachel with admiration. She learned that from a very wise teacher. The community clinic began to gain fame in the region. The impact was so significant that a local TV station did a report on the project, showcasing the work of the volunteer doctors and the patient's progress. "Did you see it on TV?" shouted Mrs. Henderson, rushing over to the cake stall. "Emily was on television, and Dr. Michael too." Rachel hadn't seen the report, but Emily was thrilled. "The TV lady said our project was an example for the whole country." The story brought unexpected consequences. Donations started pouring in from people touched by the story, medical equipment, medications, even offers of permanent locations for the clinic. But it also brought problems. Mercy General Hospital was not pleased with the exposure, especially when the report mentioned the disagreements that led to Michael's suspension. "I got a call from the board," Michael told Rachel one afternoon. "They want to reinstate me at the hospital, but with conditions." "What kind of conditions?" "I have to close the community clinic and stop making public statements about the hospital's policies." "And are you going to accept?" Michael laughed bitterly. 3 years ago, I would have accepted without a second thought. High salary, stability, prestige. But now, how can I abandon all this? He gestured toward the church hall, where Dr. Sarah was treating a child. How can I abandon Emily? You, all these families who trust us. But what about your career? Your financial stability? You know, Rachel, when I lost Olivia, I thought I had lost everything. My purpose as a doctor, my reason for living, my faith in medicine. But you all gave that back to me. Michael sat down in one of the makeshift chairs in the clinic. I discovered I don't need a fancy hospital to be a good doctor. I need patients who trust me and a purpose beyond money. So you're going to refuse the hospital's offer? Yes, and I'm going to propose something better to them. What? A partnership. Mercy General can provide equipment and specialists to the community clinic a few hours a week. In return, they get a positive social image and access to treatment research in real-life community conditions. Do you think they'll accept? Probably not, but it's worth a try. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, as we're just getting started. Now, continuing. The meeting with Mercy General's board was tense. Michael presented his proposal in an elegant room, surrounded by executives in expensive suits who saw him as a problematic employee. "Dr. Michael," said the general director, a woman in her 40s with a stern expression, "your proposal is interesting but impractical. We can't assume the legal risks of treating patients outside our facilities." "The risks are minimal," Michael argued. "It would just be technical support and equipment lending. The treatments would still be the responsibility of the clinic's doctors." "And what would be the benefit for the hospital?" "Social responsibility, improved public image, access to treatment data from underserved populations, potential for academic research." "Dr. Michael," interrupted the financial director, "with all due respect, the hospital is a business. We need financial returns, not social responsibility. What if I can demonstrate there's financial return too?" "How?" Michael took a deep breath. It was his last card. "The community clinic is serving 200 families a month. That's 200 families who know our work, who speak well of us in the community. When they need surgeries or complex hospitalizations, which hospital do you think they'll choose?" "Relationship marketing," murmured the director, interested for the first time. "Exactly. And what's more, the research we can develop with real treatment data from different social classes could lead to academic publications that enhance the hospital's prestige. What would the initial investment be?" "Minimal. Allocation of equipment that's already being underutilized and a few hours per week from volunteer specialists." The meeting ended without a decision, but Michael knew he had planted a seed. The board promised to analyze the proposal and give an answer in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the community clinic kept growing. Emily was getting stronger every day, already able to transfer herself from the wheelchair to the bed and doing exercises that were once impossible. "Dr. Michael," she said one Thursday afternoon, "I've been thinking about something." "What is it, kiddo?" "We could throw a party to raise money for the clinic. My mum makes delicious cakes, Mrs. Henderson knows how to make pastries, and Dr. Sarah said she plays guitar." "That's a great idea. Where would we have it?" "Right here in the church hall. Father Richard already said he'd be on board. The benefit party was organized in a month with the whole community mobilizing. Rachel was in charge of desserts, other families handled the savory snacks, local musicians volunteered to play, and even a team of teenagers took charge of social media promotion. "I can't believe this," said Rachel, looking at the packed hall on the night of the party. "There must be over 300 people here." "Emily is a natural organizer," said Michael, watching the girl efficiently run a sales table with adult-like skill. "She has a talent for management. She's always been clever at organizing things. Even when she was little, she already helped manage our household expenses." The party was an absolute success. They raised enough to buy 2 physical therapy devices and still had money left over for 3 months' rent on their own space. "We did it!" shouted Emily, counting the money in the cash box. $18,500. The whole community celebrated. It was more than they expected, and represented the possibility of significantly expanding the project. 2 days after the party, Michael received the response from Mercy General Hospital. To his surprise, the board accepted a modified version of his proposal. They'll provide some equipment and allow 2 volunteer specialists to participate in the project 2 afternoons per week, he told Rachel and Emily. It's not everything we asked for, but it's a start. Does that mean you'll go back to working at the hospital? Asked Emily. Part-time. I'll divide my time between Mercy General and the community clinic. And Dr. Sarah and Dr. Robert? They'll remain fully dedicated to the project. With the money raised at the party and the hospital's support, we can pay them decent salaries. The move to their own space was emotional. The chosen location was an old house in Hopewell Heights, with a large yard and good ventilation. It needed renovations but had potential to become a welcoming and functional clinic. We could make a sensory garden in the yard, suggested Sarah. It's excellent for occupational therapy with children. And a colourful ramp at the entrance, added Emily, to make it cheerful and show that wheelchair users are welcome. The renovations took 2 months, with the whole community helping. Patients' parents who were masons, electricians and painters offered their services. Rachel organised a snack system for the volunteer workers, and her cake stand became the official meeting point for the community effort. I've never seen a construction project with so much community involvement, said Robert, watching children help paint walls while adults installed flooring. This has become one big family. It's because everyone feels like they own the project, explained Rachel. It's not something someone did for us, it's something we did together. The official opening of the practice was scheduled for a Friday in September. The place was named the Olivia Rehabilitation Center in honor of Michael's daughter. I think she would be proud, said Michael, gazing at the sign at the entrance. I'm sure she would, replied Emily, holding his hand. And I think she would like knowing that other children will have the chance she didn't get. The opening ceremony was simple, but moving. The city's mayor attended, along with council members, journalists and representatives from other healthcare institutions who wanted to learn about the project. This center represents the best in medicine, Michael said in his speech. The union between technical knowledge and social commitment. Here, every child is treated as a unique human being, not as a number on a spreadsheet. I'd like to say something, Emily requested, surprising everyone by asking for the microphone. Of course, sweetie, said Michael, helping her get into position. When I was younger, I thought my wheelchair was a bad thing, she began, her voice steady. I thought I was different from other kids in a way that wasn't good. But here at the center, I learned that being different can be special. I learned that I can do many things, just in different ways. And I learned that there are many good people in the world, people who want to help others just because it's the right thing to do. The silence in the room was absolute. Adults discreetly wiped away tears as the 9-year-old girl spoke with the wisdom of someone who had lived more than her age suggested. Dr. Michael lost his daughter, but he didn't give up on helping other children. My mom works hard selling cakes to take care of me, but she always finds time to help other moms too. Dr. Sarah and Dr. Robert left important jobs to work here. That's why I want everyone to know, this center isn't just a place for treatment. It's a place where good people do good things for other people, and that's very rare nowadays. The audience burst into applause. Michael had tears in his eyes, and Rachel felt her chest swell with pride for her daughter. Thank you, Emily, said Michael, taking back the microphone. You just explained better than I could what this place really means. In the months that followed, the Olivia Rehabilitation Center became established as a benchmark in the region. Patients came from neighboring towns, other professionals asked to join the team, and universities began sending students for internships. Emily continued her treatment and became a kind of junior ambassador for the center. She welcomed new children, explained the exercises, and had a natural talent for calming the fears and anxieties of the young patients. Emily has a gift, Sarah commented to Michael one afternoon. She connects with the children in a way that we adults sometimes can't. It's because she went through the same things they're going through, Michael explained. She understands the fears, the frustrations, the small victories each day. Have you thought about including her officially on the team? Of course, respecting the limitations of her age, but she could have a formal role in emotional support. That's an interesting idea. I'll talk to Rachel about it. When Michael suggested that Emily become the center's welcome assistant, Rachel was conflicted. She's still very young, she argued. And I don't want her to feel pressured to help just because she has the same condition as the other children. It would only be 1 hour a week, Michael explained. She would talk with new patients, participate in some group activities, nothing too formal. And what does Emily think? Why don't you ask her? Suggested Emily herself, who had approached without them noticing. I'm right here. Michael and Rachel laughed at the girl's cleverness. So, what do you think of the idea? Asked Michael. I think it would be cool. Sometimes when new kids arrive, they get scared of the exercises or think they'll never get better. I can show them that you can do lots of cool things even using a wheelchair. But only if you want to, no pressure, emphasized Rachel. I want to, Mum. It's like you always say, when we can help other people, we feel useful and happy. Emily's new role at the center was an immediate success. The kids related to her, and she had a unique way of turning boring exercises into fun games. Let's see who can pick up the most little balls with the stick, she'd proposed during coordination sessions. The winner gets to choose the music for the next game. Emily turned physical therapy into a party, commented Robert. The kids can't wait to come here. Emily's progress also continued to be impressive. She had developed enough strength in her arms to move with almost total independence, could transfer herself to different surfaces alone, and even climb a few steps using handrails. Dr. Michael, she said in a December session, I want to try something. What do you want to try? I want to see if I can stand up by myself, even if just for a few seconds. Michael fell silent. It was a delicate request. Emily had never shown voluntary movements in her legs, and they didn't want to create unrealistic expectations. Emily, he said gently. You know your condition mainly affects the mobility of your legs, right? I know, but I feel like my legs are different. Sometimes they tingle, and yesterday I managed to move a little toe. Michael and Robert exchanged glances. Tingling and minimal movements could indicate some nerve regeneration, but they could also be phantom sensations. Let's do some tests first, said Robert, to see if there really is any change in sensitivity. The tests revealed something surprising. There was indeed some recovery of sensitivity in Emily's legs. It wasn't much, but it was more than any doctor had expected. How is this possible? Asked Rachel anxiously. Children's nervous systems have a greater capacity for regeneration than adults, explained Michael. Combined with the intensive and constant treatment Emily has been undergoing, it's possible that some nerve connections have partially recovered. Does that mean she might walk again? We can't be sure. She might develop some limited mobility, or it might just be a sensory improvement. The important thing is not to create exaggerated expectations, but for Emily, any progress was cause for celebration. She began dedicating part of her daily exercises to attempts to move her legs, always with supervision and equipment support. Look, she shouted one January afternoon. The big toe moved. It was an almost imperceptible movement, but it was there. Michael, Robert, and Sarah confirmed. There was limited voluntary movement in Emily's right foot. It's a miracle, whispered Rachel, crying with emotion. It's not a miracle, corrected Emily with a huge smile. It's the result of a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and lots of good people helping. The news of Emily's progress spread quickly through the community and brought even more visibility to the center. Families from other states began seeking information about the treatment methods used. We need to systematize our care protocol, said Sarah in a team meeting. Other institutions are asking about our methodology. It's an opportunity to expand the model, agreed Michael. We can train professionals from other cities to replicate the project. But without losing the essence of what we do here, warned Robert. What sets us apart isn't just the techniques, it's the community involvement, the humanized care. Exactly, said Emily, who was participating in the meeting as a welcome assistant. What makes the difference here is that everyone genuinely cares about everyone else. The expansion of the Olivia Center model began the following year, with the creation of a training program for professionals from other regions. Michael, Sarah, and Robert started traveling on weekends to train teams in different cities. "It's incredible to see how many professionals are dissatisfied with the traditional system," commented Sarah after a training session in a small town. "There are good people everywhere. They just needed an opportunity to work differently." Rachel also benefited from the center's growth. Her little cake stand evolved into a small snack bar specializing in healthy foods for children with dietary restrictions. She developed special recipes that were gluten-free, lactose-free, and low in sugar, which became popular not only among the center's patients, but throughout the entire community. "Who would have thought that selling cakes on the street would turn into a thriving business?" she commented to Emily one evening, sharing the month's revenue. "The difference is that now you don't just sell cakes to make money," observed Emily. "You sell cakes that are good for people. That changes everything." The second anniversary of the Olivia Center was celebrated with a big party in San Diego's Central Square. The event featured performances by children served by the center, family testimonials, and an exhibition about the progress achieved. Emily, now 11 years old and able to take a few steps with the support of walkers, was the event's master of ceremonies. "Today marks 2 years since Dr. Michael decided to transform his pain into hope for other people," she said into the microphone, speaking to an audience of over 1,000 people. "Today marks 2 years since my mother met people who would help our family grow and be happy. Today marks 2 years since many children discovered that having a disability doesn't mean having less value. It means having different challenges, and different challenges need creative solutions. The Olivia Center doesn't cure all diseases, doesn't make all paralyzed people walk, doesn't solve all problems. But it does one very important thing. It shows that every child deserves to be treated with affection, respect, and hope." The audience was moved by the girl's words. Emily had become a natural speaker, capable of conveying profound messages with the simplicity and sincerity of childhood. "I want to finish by speaking to all the children here who have some disability," she continued. "You are not pitiful. You are not less important. You are not a burden to your families. You are special. You are capable. And you can do amazing things. You may never walk like other children. You may never see like other people. You may never hear like other children. But you can love, you can learn, you can help other people, and you can be happy. And that's what really matters." Emily's speech went viral on social media and was featured on national television programs. The Olivia Center received partnership requests from institutions across the country, and Michael was invited to speak at medical conferences about humanizing medicine. "I never imagined our small initiative would grow so much," he said to Rachel one afternoon, watching Emily playing with other children in the center's sensory garden. "I think when we do things with genuine love, they naturally grow and spread," replied Rachel. "It's like planting good seeds in fertile soil." "And Emily, how do you see her future?" "I see many possibilities. She has a talent for dealing with people. She's intelligent, determined. Regardless of physical limitations, I'm sure she'll find her way to contribute to the world. She's already contributing. I don't know any child who has positively impacted so many lives." "That's true. Sometimes I wonder who teaches more, me to her or her to me." In its 3rd year of operation, the Olivia Center became the subject of study for national and international universities. Researchers came to study not only the treatment methods, but especially the participatory community management model. "The difference isn't in the equipment or the techniques," Michael explained to a group of German researchers. "It's in how we treat each family as part of our extended family." Emily, now 12 years old, had become a kind of international ambassador for children with disabilities. She participated in video conferences with rehabilitation centers in other countries, sharing her experience and inspiring other children. "What impresses me most about Emily," Sarah commented, "is how she manages to be both a normal child with typical playfulness and mischief for her age, and an inspiring leader capable of touching adults' hearts." "I think it's because she never pretended to be different than she is," Rachel observed. "She always accepted her condition naturally, without drama or self-pity. And because you always treated her as a normal child with special needs, not as a special child with limitations, Michael added. The Olivia Center model had been replicated in 15 Brazilian cities and 2 abroad. Each unit maintained the essence of humanized care, but adapted to local characteristics. It's moving to see that our idea is helping children we've never met, in places we've never been, Michael said in an annual evaluation meeting. And most importantly, it's proving that it's possible to provide quality medicine without losing humanity, Robert added. Not forgetting that it's generating jobs and economic activity in the communities where it's established, Sarah reminded. It's complete social development. Rachel had also expanded her horizons. Her healthy snack bar now provided meals for 3 rehabilitation centers and 2 special schools in the region. She had hired other mothers in similar situations to help her, creating a small solidarity economy network. Mom became a businesswoman, Emily joked. Who would have thought that little cake stand would turn into all this? The difference is that now I work with purpose, Rachel reflected. Before I sold cakes to survive. Now I cook to help other families have a better life. On the 4th anniversary of the Olivia Center, the celebration was even bigger. The event spanned an entire weekend, with activities for the whole family, artistic performances, a solidarity economy product fair, and lectures on inclusion. Emily, now able to walk short distances with the help of crutches, opened the event with a speech that summarized her journey and the transformation she had witnessed in the community. 4 years ago, my mother sold cakes on a street corner to get money for my treatment, she began, speaking to an audience of over 3,000 people. Today we have a center that serves 500 children per month, employs 30 professionals, and serves as a model for the entire world. 4 years ago, I thought my wheelchair was a limitation. Today I know it was the starting point for an incredible journey of discovery and growth. 4 years ago, Dr. Michael was lost in grief over the loss of his daughter. Today, he's the symbolic father of hundreds of children who found hope through his work. This transformation didn't happen by chance. It happened because good people decided not to accept that things have to be the way they've always been. They decided they could do things differently, do better. The Olivia Center proves that when we combine technical knowledge, genuine love, and community participation, we can create real and lasting changes. But the most important thing I've learned in these 4 years is this. No matter what your limitation, your difficulty, your challenge may be, what matters is that you believe you can contribute to making the world a little bit better. Because all of us, absolutely everyone, have something valuable to offer. Sometimes it's knowledge, sometimes it's work, sometimes it's affection, sometimes it's just a smile at the right moment. And when each person offers their best, magical things happen. Things like this center, like the friendships that formed here, like the families that grew stronger, like the children who discovered they could soar high even without leaving the ground. Emily's speech was interrupted several times by emotional applause. At the end, she received a standing ovation that lasted more than 5 minutes. Michael went up on stage and hugged Emily. 4 years ago, a 9-year-old girl taught me that true medicine isn't in fancy hospitals, but in the hearts of people who care about each other. Today, that same girl, now a 13-year-old young woman, continues to teach me every day about courage, determination, and love. Emily, you and your mother saved my life as much as I helped in your treatment. You gave me back my purpose, the joy of being a doctor, the certainty that it's worth fighting for our dreams. Thank you for trusting me when I didn't trust myself anymore. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your family. And thank you for helping me transform the memory of Olivia into a legacy of hope for so many other children. Rachel also went up on stage, and the 3 hugged, while the audience erupted in applause and tears of emotion. 4 years ago, I was a desperate mother, selling cakes on the street without knowing how I was going to take care of my daughter, said Rachel into the microphone. Today, I have my own business. My daughter is developing wonderfully, and we are part of a community that has changed the lives of thousands of people. This all started with a simple act, a doctor who cared enough to buy a cake and talk to a child, a small gesture that turned into something huge. That's why I want to leave a message for everyone watching. Never underestimate the power of a gesture of affection, a word of hope, a helping hand. You don't need to be doctors. You don't need to have a lot of money. You don't need to be special. You just need to truly care about other people and be willing to do something, no matter how small, to help. Because that's how it all started, with people who cared. And that's how it all continues, with people who choose to make a difference. The event ended with a musical performance by the center's children, who sang a song specially composed for the occasion. The lyrics spoke about overcoming, hope, and the strength that comes from people coming together. That night, after everyone had left and the center was silent, Michael, Rachel, and Emily sat in the sensory garden to talk about everything that had happened. Have you ever stopped to think where we would be today if that first meeting at the stand hadn't happened? I asked Michael. I would still be selling cakes on the corner, struggling alone to take care of Emily, said Rachel, and probably losing the battle. And I would be in my wheelchair, without hope of improvement, watching my mother worry herself to death, added Emily. And I would have been sunk in depression, wasting my medical knowledge at a hospital that only cares about money, Michael completed. So you think it was fate? Asked Emily. I think it was a combination of fate and choices, reflected Rachel. Fate put us on the same path, but we chose to trust each other. We chose to fight together. We chose not to give up. And we always chose to include others in our journey, said Michael. We could have closed ourselves off to just our problems, but we decided our solution had to work for other families too. That's what I like most about our story, said Emily. We didn't just solve our problems, we created a way to solve other people's problems too. And it keeps growing, observed Rachel. Every child who comes through here takes a little bit of our experience to their family, their school, their community. It's like a chain of good that never stops spreading, agreed Michael. 5 years after the first meeting at the cake stand, the Olivia Center had become an international reference in community rehabilitation. Emily, now 14 years old, walked independently using crutches and had become one of the country's youngest speakers on inclusion. Rachel expanded her business and opened a therapeutic cooking school where she taught other mothers to develop recipes suitable for children with special dietary needs. Michael had been invited to lead a national program for humanizing pediatric medicine, but preferred to stay in San Diego, coordinating the network of Olivia centers and continuing to directly serve children in the community. Sometimes people ask me if I regret turning down important positions at prestigious hospitals, he said in an interview for a medical magazine. And I always give the same answer. True prestige doesn't come from the position you hold, but from the difference you make in people's lives. Here at the Olivia Center, I see daily children overcoming limitations, families growing stronger, professionals discovering the true meaning of medicine. There's no position in the world that would give me more satisfaction than this. End of story. Now tell us, what did you think of this story of overcoming and hope? Do you believe small gestures can truly transform lives? Leave your opinion in the comments and share your own experience of solidarity. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell.